Let's Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to my very first stream. It's just a quick stream. Just think of it as a test stream, but feel free to drop in and ask questions. I'll be here for about 30 to 40 minutes. I don't know. We're just testing some things out, and yeah, I didn't advertise this, so I don't expect too many people to be here and chat, but I would love to see some people come through. Let's see. Is anybody here right now? Making sure all this stuff is working. Oh, it's Keep It Classy Tech. What's up? All right, so that works. Cool. Cool. Making sure we sort out the technical difficulties before we start any official live streams. You know what I mean? Um, so I guess I'm just kind of gonna answer questions in this stream, and we might take a look at some of the TVs. There's a lot of sales going on right now, so a lot of people have questions. What's up, Michael? How's it going? Ali, how's it going, man? Good to see you. Good to see everybody here. So what I'll do is going forward is I'll host these things and I'll schedule them actually, not just like go live out of nowhere. Cause I didn't tell anybody about this. I just wanted to make sure this was gonna work. Um, but yeah, man. Hey, how's it going? Brian T. Keep it classy tech asking, what did you like from the Xbox show? There was a couple of things that were pretty cool. Stalker 2 really stuck out to me. That seems like it's got some really next gen graphics going on there. Starfield looks cool, but looks to be like a CG trailer, so I'm not really sure um, what to expect from that game. Forza Horizon 5 looked awesome. They looked like they're stepping it up. I was sad to see there was no Avowed, and I was sad that there was no Fable or Perfect Dark. There was a lot of that stuff that they announced or hinted at last year wasn't there, so that was a little disappointing, you know. Um, this question about the 50-inch QN90A, I believe there was some information out there from Display Technologies saying that it was a VA panel. Correct me if I'm wrong in chat, but I believe it is a VA panel. What's up, Marcus? How's it going? Griffin X2, how's it going? Thank you for stopping by. Um, so one thing I really wanted to do with this is kind of highlight some of the deals that are going on, not only in TVs, but we're also just going to talk and answer your questions. So as I add this, here's the Best Buy website, and right now they have a sales event going on. So you have to kind of watch out for stuff like this because it seems like they have more sales than they actually do, and a lot of times the big flagship TVs don't actually go too much on sale for this, but let's take a look at some of the stuff they're offering here. You see the 77-inch C10 for 2,999. That's definitely going to be a hard to beat price for a lot of people. So anybody in the market for a big OLED, like that's a good price for sure. And to be honest, the C10 to the C1 isn't that huge of a jump. So you just have to decide, is that going to be worth $500? A lot of these other TVs, the Insignia TVs, Toshiba TVs, those are going to be your bedroom TVs. You're going to want to avoid those for sure if you're doing any sort of gaming or like serious movie watching. You're going to be very disappointed. Same thing with the Crystal UHD TVs from Samsung. They're just going to be edgelit TVs, and you're going to have your downsides to edgelit. You're not going to be able to appreciate any of the dark scenes very much. You're going to see a lot of gray blacks with that. So that's something you want to be aware of. What I like to do on here is figure out how to get my scroll wheel back. But we're gonna look at some of the newer TVs, and let me see what's going on in chat. Feel free to ask questions, and I will answer. Here's a good one. Costco is clearing out the X900H 75 for 1,300 and the 85-inch for 2,000. That is a really good deal. That is a fantastic deal for big screen TVs. Griffin, you got the A80J. Hey, I think that you're probably going to be happy with it. There's no doubt about it. Like Sony TVs this year, that XR processor, it seems to be one of the best uh, things in TV right now. So I think that you'll be happy with it. There's no way you regret that unless you get multiple HDMI 2.1 consoles. And that's the thing, right? Is I could say that I like the Sony all that forever. Like I could say that all day. And to me, it's the better TV. But if you need multiple HDMI 2.1 ports, then your really only option is going to be LG. So you have to consider that. If you're ever going to add another console or if you're ever going to add a gaming PC, you have to really consider that because the differences between the A80J and the C1, they're very minimal from a further away distance. So when I'm testing these TVs, I'm about maybe 2 to 3 feet away from the TVs, or sometimes 3 to 4 feet. But the further you get away, the less you'll see difference wise. And also, you got to keep in mind, I'm nitpicking these details. If I viewed this TV in one room and then I went to another room and viewed the other TV, I probably wouldn't be able to nitpick that much stuff. So it's easy to kind of talk about the differences when they're side by side, but when they're just viewed on their own, it's very hard to pick out the differences. So OLED is going to be OLED. You're still getting pixel level dimming. The processor definitely takes it to another level on the Sony, but the C1 does a lot of things that the Sony doesn't as well. It's just it handles its blacks differently than Sony does. So that's just something you have to keep in mind. And there's a lot of information out there about that. So all that stuff is great. Does it even make sense to look at a 2020 model? Okay, yeah, honestly, if it's a good deal, I think it makes a lot of sense to look at a 2020 model, especially when you're talking about the 900H. The X90J and the 900H are very similar TVs for the most part. I talked to a guy that owns both of them, and he said that the jump wasn't that huge. And honestly, the black levels got a little worse on the X90J. But that's one person's opinion. I also know that there's a lot of people that love the X90J and say that it got better overall just because of the processor. But I don't know. I think it's perfectly fine to buy a 2020 TV. And honestly, if you're not trying to get the latest and greatest, buying a 2020 TV is probably some of the best decisions you can make financially with your money. And you always have to factor that in to your decision making processes. How much do you think the A80J will be for Black Friday? How big are we talking though? Like, what is the size we're talking about here? Because I don't know. If you're talking about 55-inch, um, yeah, for sure. If we're talking about 65-inch, it's possible, but 77-inch, there's no way it drops that low. Um, let's see. Oh, awesome, awesome. Yep, panel prayers out to you, Jim. That 83-inch A90J, that's sick. Good job. That's definitely a congratulations purchase right there. Uh, Forgive me if I'm not seeing all the chat here. Let's see. What you doing right now? Keep it classy tech. You want to join the stream? I can send you a link. I don't know if you're at home or not. If you're busy. Let's see. Here we go. What's a good for gaming? LG G1 or Sony A80J? That depends. Do you need multiple HDMI 2.1 ports? Do you think you'll need multiple HDMI 2.1 ports? Because that is going to factor into your decision big time. And also, you have to keep in mind that there's no VRR right now for the Sony. So if that's something that bothers you as well, that's another thing you really got to think of. The way I say this is, if you think you're going to get a console that's a next gen console on top of the next gen console you already have, or you're adding a PC anytime down the line within the next 5 years, you have that TV, then you really got to think about that, or else you're going to go through the trouble of switching cables. And for some people, that might not be a big deal. I don't mind switching cables, but I'm not mounting my TVs. So for people that are mounting their TVs, like, switching cables is very much a hassle. So you have to really take that into consideration. Um, and the G1 honestly seems like a really good value, because you're getting a 5-year warranty with it. And there's so much uncertainty for a lot of people, about burn-in. And my take on burn-in is, you definitely got to be aware of it, but I wouldn't be afraid of it. And I don't go out of my way to buy warranties for burn-in protection either. But if you want that extra peace of mind, you have that, um, with the G1, which is cool. Which is cool. Let's see. What's going on, Max? How's it going? I checked out your video. I liked it, man. Good job on that. Let's see. Any other questions in the chat? Feel free. Just, like, launch them out. I'm not doing nothing right now. I'm just testing out this chat. This is not like an official stream or anything. Just looking at Best Buy, trying to multitask here. All I want to say something about Best Buy is open boxes right now. If you can find a good open box deal right now, I know a lot of people say, like, avoid open box, but if you could find a good 2020 open box deal right now, you might want to check it out, unless it's an OLED. If it's an OLED open box, then that's definitely where you want to consider the warranties, um, because that's going to be a big deal. Let's see. All this stuff is stuff that's on sale. Let's talk about the X95J for a second, because the X95J is definitely going to be a TV that might be worth waiting for a lot of people. And I get that question a lot, is if you should wait for the X95J. And personally, I can't wait to see it. It seems very promising, to be honest with you. If it's going to be, I don't know, worth it over a QN90A, that's what I want to see, because right now the QN90A is definitely the top LCD TV that you can buy right now. And in terms of the ports that's available on it, it's going to still kind of have the same problem as the QN90A. So, but if those that don't want to buy an OLED at all, I think those will be the top choices for LCD for sure. And yeah, let's see. What do I think of the semi-gloss screen on the A80J? I don't mind it. I don't think it's a huge deal. I had it next to the A90J, and I'm gonna post a video where I run some reflection tests as well. And to be honest with you, it wasn't a big deal. I didn't see a huge difference. Up close, like maybe 2 feet away, the A90J looks clearer, but that could have to do with just how brilliant the screen is. The TV is brighter in general, so that could add some, like, perception to that. But in terms of, like, being a big deal, I don't think the semi-gloss is that impactful in terms of, like, being worse for wear. I think it's the same amount of reflections. It's just a little blurrier on the reflections, but that's not a bad thing. Let's see what else. There's a 43-inch QN90A. Is this like a Europe only thing? Because that sounds cool. That's a good point from Keep It Classy Tech. The 77-inch has a glossy screen. Let's pull up the Let's pull up the X95J. Oh goodness. Hey Classy, what you doing right now, man? You wanna be added to the stream? Makes it easier to have two people than to like just host it by yourself. Let's see. Internet's being slow. All right, so it looks like the 75 and 85 is the only one they have listed for now. That's so tiny. I don't think anybody could read that text. I don't know. One thing about the X95J is that it's a step up from the X90J in terms of their contrast booster. You know, they say contrast booster 5 on the X90J, and then contrast booster 10 on the X95J, and then contrast booster 15 on their OLEDs, which is like, what does that even mean? Come on, like Sony, give us some terms. And the same thing with Samsung, they always do that. And does anybody really know what these terms mean? Or these are just marketing terms? For real, yes, yes. Let's see. Am I missing any? Oh, I've not really looked into that soundbar at all. I'd love to hear more details about it though, if you got more details about it. Let's see. Yeah, so I guess I could just share my general thoughts on the TVs that we're looking at today. And for people looking at a TV, are you looking at a flagship? Let me know in the chat. Are you looking at a flagship? Are you looking at budget TVs? Because there's something that we don't cover a lot as TV reviewers, and that's the budget TVs. And that's not because we don't want to cover them. It's just because right now, personally, I'm looking for the best of the best when it comes to TVs. And I know that's what a lot of people are looking forward to as well. And a lot of the budget TVs are going to be very much the same in terms of quality. A lot of them are going to just be edge lit. So that's something you want to be aware of. One TV I'm looking into is the Hisense U8G. You know, I hear a lot of good things about it, and I also hear a lot of bad things about it. So I won't be able to really comment too much on that until I actually get one of those in my hands. Because I heard the ghosting for gaming is a problem. And we all know that ghosting on the Q90T last year was a big problem. So, but luckily they fixed that. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. Or it's for like a bedroom TV. So let's see. There's not a lot of questions going on right now. Um, but I expected this because I was just doing a technical difficulty stream. Probably gonna end it in about 10 to 15 minutes. So feel free to leave some questions if you want them answered. And yeah, we can talk about pretty much whatever you want to talk about. A lot of this stuff is really just marketing uh, information on that website. Hey Max, thanks for the super chat. LGC1 enabled for VRR is the picture dimmer. With VRR enabled, I didn't notice any dimmer picture. To be honest with you, it seemed about the same brightness. Now I didn't measure it or anything. Keep It Classy Tech might have measured the VRR and see if it made it dimmer, but I didn't see it make it any dimmer at all. So yeah, that's a good thing that they don't do that. Let's see. So I guess you're asking, would I still want to go back to the QN90A after testing the C1 and the A80J and the A90J? When it comes to gaming, so far, I think the QN90A is probably my favorite gaming TV in terms of like bright games, more colorful games, and that's just one of those things. I feel like you want to pick a TV for the games that you play mainly, because I personally just I vary my games. I'm not tending to shift towards a bright game or a dark game. So OLED definitely gives you more flexibility with that. But when you do play a brighter game, like even the Forza Horizon 5, like if you play that on a QN90A, I'm sure that it'll be more impressive on that than it would on an OLED. But on the flip side, like a horror game like Resident Evil will probably be way more impactful on a C1 than the QN90A. So that's tough, right? Thank you for the super chat. 65X95J, when's the release? It sounds like August is the release date. It was supposed to be July and they pushed it back. Um, I can't wait for it, to be honest with you. That's my impressions. I think there's a ton of information out there that people are really hyping this TV up. And I don't know if it's like worthy of being hyped up because I saw the X950H last year and it was a really good TV. But I don't think it compared to the Q90T. I still think the Q90T was better than the 950H, but the Q90T really got a lot of bad ratings from a lot of people, which I don't personally understand because I put it next to the QN90A and it held its own, to be honest with you. And I'm gonna do a test where the Q90T is next to the A90J, and that's gonna be very, very interesting for sure. Let's see. I miss anything else? QN90A or A90J, what do you prefer? That's tough. Right now, I think that the A90J is the best TV. It like if money is no object, the A90J is definitely the best TV. It's the most impactful TV. Um, Brightness definitely hits you differently on the A90J than it does on the QN90A. The QN90A is going to make the screen bright pretty much like all the time. It's got a better real scene brightness. Um, but the A90J definitely gets bright in the right areas, if that makes sense. So things that are highlighted and meant to be bright are going to stick out more because the whole entire image it's not bright, it's just that area. But on a QN90A, it's like the whole entire image is bright and then also that area is a little bit brighter, but it also can take away from the impact. So for like big bright scenes where the whole screen is bright, the QN90A is going to do better. But for those specular highlights where you're just really condensed and you're just looking for one area of the screen to light up, the A90J is going to be more impactful. Hopefully that kind of clears that part up. But in terms of preference for me personally, I do a lot of gaming. I think it's tough. I'd probably still go A90J, but the QN90A is not too far behind. All right, we got that one already. Let's see. Yeah, pretty much. Oh, really? Wow. I didn't even know that. That's that's new information for me. Ray tracing in games have been kind of hit or miss, to be honest with you, in next gen games. You don't have a good way to take advantage of ray tracing just yet. They've been kind of sprinkling it in here and there, but it's really just been like low resolution ray tracing, shadows, and reflections. Yeah, so ray tracing so far has been it's been okay. I think ray tracing has been a little overhyped. It's nice and like Spider-Man is a really good example of ray tracing working. You can see it in some other games too. Resident Evil has a little bit of ray tracing, but even then I was sort of let down by the ray tracing in that game. Let's see. So that's something you gotta keep in mind. OLED Motion Pro will dim the screen and double the lag. All right, here's the question. How do you compare the Q90T and QN90A reflections? And will the QN90A be annoying when looking at it in a bright room? So the Q90T and the QN90A reflections are going to be very similar. In my Q90T versus QN90A video, at the very end of the video, I do a reflection test. And when I was doing a light reflection test, I didn't see too much of a difference in the reflection coating. I think that the coating on the Q90T might be a little bit heavier, but for the most part, it's about the same. In terms of how bright the room is, if you have direct lights in the back of the TV, or you have a big like chandelier or a big light source above the TV, no matter what TV you're hooking up, and this is the case with the QN90A as well, if it's right above the TV and you can see it in the reflection, it's gonna be a big rainbow kinda line across the screen, and that could get annoying. There's no doubt about it. So you have to be really careful about where you place your TV in a bright room, and if it's the sun that's making it bright, I don't think it will be too much of an issue as long as you're not directly facing the sun. Um, because, yeah, you'll see those rainbow reflections for sure. Do you know if the modern Samsungs still have the mosquito eye coating? Um I think that the anti-reflection layer is sort of that mosquito coating, but they did make it better over the years. It's definitely less noticeable now. Apparently, it affects the contrast, which is one thing that I found kind of interesting because I thought the contrast on the QN90A and the Q90T were really good. Um, but that's with local dimming on. I don't turn off local dimming ever. So, but in terms of the mosquito eye thing, like I don't see it, but I'm sitting about 5 to 6 feet away from my set. If you get close, you might be able to notice it, but it is still a thing, I think, though. Samsung dropped the ball lately since the that's a hot take. I don't agree with that. I think that last year, the Q90T was better than what people said it was, and I I've seen it, uh pretty much the whole entire year, and I like it. And I still like it versus these new TVs, and I think that it's a really good deal still. To be honest with you, the the reduction in dimming zones was concerning, but I don't think it really has that much of a real world impact, to be honest with you, because the Q90T actually has some really great local dimming, and honestly, the black levels, come on, they're really good for a LCD TV. And they compared pretty good to the QN90A, which has really deep blacks thanks to the mini LED. So, do I think Sony will bring VRR to TVs this year? Oh my goodness. All right. I don't know. I really don't know. I hope they do. They said they were gonna bring it last year to the 900H, and they didn't. And then they said summer, and then they didn't. And now it sounds like winter. So I have no idea. The MediaTek chip seems to be what's, like, tripping this stuff up, and if they can't figure it out, I don't know what they're gonna do. They're gonna have a big controversy on their hands if they don't bring VRR this year, I'll tell you that. So hopefully to avoid the drama, they do that. Let's see. Calibration. All right. Um, Calibration in my country, you have to pay 500 to have it calibrated. Is it worth it? And can I expect a difference? So, my thing about calibration is how much do you think you're missing with the TV that you have now? And a good way to look at that as like look at the TV brand and the model that you have right now. Go to Artings and look at the pre-calibration results and see how accurate that is. If it's at like an 8 or an 8.5, getting it calibrated, you're probably going to notice a little bit of a difference. But for most people, I doubt they know a difference. And I doubt they even like the difference because a lot of times in calibration, they'll make your screen a little bit dimmer. And some people just don't like that. Right. And so I think it is best to just look up the best settings possible for your TV. Definitely don't pay anybody for the settings. Go to Artings, try their settings out, look around on YouTube. There's a lot of people that give free settings. And yeah, I just think that calibration is for the really serious people, for the people that really care about accuracy, and for people that understand reference level color and what it looks like. And if they're really nitpicking, they're going to want calibration. But if you're not that kind of person, if you're just like an everyday person just watching TV, playing games, I think that $500 for calibration is a lot to ask for sure. And that's no disrespect to calibrators, and I know they want to get their money. Um, but if you're asking me if I'm going to pay $500 for calibration or get a better sound system, I'm going to lean towards the better sound system. Or if I'm going to pay for calibration or get a next gen console, I'll get the next gen console. And that's just how I look at that. So is it worth getting the A90J calibrated? So another calibration question, and for the A90J in particular, no, I don't think so, not at all. And this TV is very accurate out of the box. It's probably one of the most accurate TVs you can buy out of the box. So, getting an A90J calibrated doesn't seem like a good idea in terms of your money. You can definitely do more with your money. But if you are really wanting reference colors, if you want the D65 calibration, then go for it. But to be honest, it looks really great out of the box. Scott said he swapped out the QN98 for the C1. I would love to hear your thoughts on that and why you did that because a lot of people might like the C1 better than the QN90A. And you'll see that a lot of the times it comes down to preference. And there's going to be cases where the QN90A looks better than the C1, and there's going to be cases where it looks better, where the QN90A doesn't look as good as the C1. And that's going to be in areas with shadows. Because when you see shadows off of armor or just like really dark spots on armor, clothing, just the little dark details, it's going to be so much better on the C1. Even though it might crush it in a lot of scenes, it's just going to look more, it's going to look like it has more depth in general because it's no beating the pixel level dimming for a lot of these darker scenes, for a lot of the deeper colors. The C1 is going to look a lot better in a lot of different games. But on the flip side, you're going to have times where you're looking at highlights and sun rays and things like that. And if you're not having tone mapping on, you're going to run into some issues. But sometimes tone mapping doesn't work the way it's supposed to. And HGIG is great, but it's not always supported to the ability that it should be. And then the on-screen tone mapping for the C1 and the G1, it's going to raise your picture level for your entire picture, not just the HDR highlights. So that's something you want to keep in mind. So he said he did it after the last update, audio drops. That's definitely a reason to swap out your TV. If you're having problems with audio, um, it seems to be an ongoing thing with a lot of TVs these days. EARC, um, audio dropouts. It seems like no TVs can get this correct. and it's really sad that I don't know if it has to do with the sound bar and the TV just not connecting properly, but I hear a lot of EARC issues on Sony's end, on Samsung's end, and even on LG's end, but less on LG's end. So LG's doing something right with the EARC there, but there's definitely some problems. Um, in terms of the blooming, I didn't notice too much blooming, but I wasn't really playing off angle. I told you in my QN90A video, if you go off angle on the Skyrim start screen, you'll definitely see some blooming, and that could be an issue for sure. If you're sitting angled to the TV or if you're watching from the side, blooming could be an issue. Let's see. Same situation. I have QN90A and just picked up an A90J on sale. Nice. Are you going to be able to have them and compare them? Because if you can do that, that's the best bet. And then you can just kind of pick which one you like the most out of that. And if you can do that, that's probably the best way to do it. But if you get an A90J, you might not want to take it back. Let's see. Okay, question. 99.9% SDR content. What TV is the best TV for SDR content? If you're not, let's see. Are you gaming in SDR? If you're not gaming in SDR, that's gonna narrow it down. But still, I think the best content for SDR is probably gonna be either Samsung or Sony. Samsung does a really great job with SDR, and it can get very bright for SDR, and it depends on the room that you're in. So, is your room a bright room? Is it a dark room? If it's a dark room, I tend to lean towards a Sony OLED for SDR. And if it's a bright room or just a medium lit room, I would say like Samsung for sure. Let me see. Let me go through some settings here. Any more questions? Let's see. Yeah, so that's something I gotta point out is the European QN90A, QN95A, it's gonna have multiple HDMI 2.1 ports due to the One Connect box, which we don't get here in the US. So that's a bummer. Let's see. Any more questions, guys? Again, the next stream will be way more laid out, not just me rambling and answering questions. I'll still answer questions, but it will definitely be more organized. This is just a test. Let's see. So yeah, if you guys have questions, it's the time to do it. Caleb, hey, what's up, man? You've been a day one supporter. I appreciate that so much. Thank you for coming by. I had a lot of stuff to talk about, and just like when you go live, I like lose my train of thought. It's weird. So you definitely want to have all this stuff organized and ready to go. Let's go back to that Best Buy though. I love just kind of looking at the shopping, the top TV deals right now. Yep. That's an issue. That's going to be an issue for people that plan on getting multiple consoles. That is going to be an issue. If your console is HDMI 2.1 and then the next one you buy is HDMI 2.1 and you have a Sony or a Samsung TV, you're going to like maybe think about it like, wow, maybe I should have got the LG. So it's tough, man. It's tough. You need I know. I do need cue cards. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate the super chat. Can you comment on the new Q90T local dimming and game mode update? It's top secret. Can't talk about it. Nah, I'm just playing. I'm testing it right now. I don't have a lot to say on it just yet. I'm comparing a lot of before update and after update, and that's going to be coming soon. So that is something you can look forward to on the Q90T update. I didn't abandon the TV, so don't worry about that. I still love the Q90T. Do I think the 5-year warranty will eventually come to the C1? No, I don't. It seems like something they're doing to push their premium TVs, and yeah, it does seem like it's a little bit of a push for people to get those higher end TVs. It gives them a reason because people that buy a OLED and they always buy that warranty with it because they're afraid of burning, they're looking to pay about the same when you all add it together because the Best Buy warranty for 5 years is going to be around the same price as just upgrading from a C1 to a G1. So I think it's just incentives for people to get the G1. I appreciate that, Max. I appreciate that, man. If you ever want to come on stream with us, let us know, man. I'm open to have anybody on the stream who loves gaming, and even if their channel's small, I don't care. Honestly, I just love to have uh like-minded people on with me so we could talk TVs and talk gaming. Let's talk about gaming for a second. Do you guys expect anything huge tomorrow from Nintendo? Are we expecting them to talk about the Nintendo Switch Pro? Because that's big, right? If that happens, let's see. HDMI 2.1 splitters have been non-existent. Why? I don't know. But whoever figures that out first is going to they're going to make a lot of money. They are definitely going to make a lot of money. So any engineers out there that know how to work on this stuff, make a HDMI 2.1 splitter and you will be rich. Halo Infinite looked good. It really did look good. I thought the multiplayer montage that they showed was cool, and it really spoke to a lot of people that love Halo. I'm not the biggest Halo fan, but it looked good, and I probably will play it because I haven't played a really great shooter in a while. So we'll see. What's up, review for the tube? I always see you in the comment section. It's always fun to talk to you. It's good to see you. Hey man, Stealth Dragon, thank you for coming through. I always see you too. Everybody is, man, I can't tell you how appreciative I am for you guys. And me hosting a stream with whether it's 5 people in the chat, 10 people, 30 people, 100 people, I don't even care. Like, I appreciate everybody that comes by, and especially for something that wasn't scheduled. Like, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And next time I'll have other people on. Keep It Classy Tech will be on from time to time. He's somebody I consider a really cool dude in the tech space. So if you guys aren't following Keep It Classy Tech, follow him. Follow him. So stop what you're doing right now and go follow Keep It Classy Tech if you're not already doing that. Make sure you subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's awesome. He helps out so much people with tech. He knows what he's talking about. He's a gamer. Just an awesome dude all around. And yeah, man. Let's see. Now I see why they have multiple people on with streams, because it's hard to do this by yourself. Like, you have to multiply, you have to do multiple things, not multiply, but you have to do multiple things at the same time. And you have to look at chat and then highlight chat, and it's crazy. It's a lot of work. Appreciate you, Stealth Dragon. That's nice, man. Griffin, thank you for the $10 super chat sticker. That's cool, man. I love these super stickers. Like, they just come through. Look at this, a hippo. Oh wait, can you see that? Nah, dang. It's a hippo. A hippo doing an uppercut. Like, how cool is that? Um, let's see. It's my first OLED, and I'm not worried. I don't think I can go back to LED now. I felt the same way with the what was it? The C7. When I got the C7, I was like, "This is the best technology I've ever seen in my life," and it lasted a long time. It was just dim in gaming. They fixed that though, not SDR gaming, but they fixed the HDR gaming, and the HDR gaming on OLED is brilliant. Um, Sony's got the SDR for OLED going. That's good. But yeah, when I talk about the C1 and SDR gaming, I'm not trying to like diss the C1 at all because I do like TV. I'm just trying to get awareness out there, like to LG. I want people to put pressure on LG to allow us to change the peak brightness in SDR game mode. There's no reason that it's locked, right? Like, why is it locked? What would be the reason for it to be locked when you have it unlocked on Sony? That's just interesting. I hate the lag in vivid mode. I think there's lag in pretty much any mode, right? Like any mode that introduces processing that's not game mode is gonna have that lag. If people like playing outside of game mode, play at a 120 hertz on a Samsung TV. You're going to be able to play outside of game mode for most games. I was even able to play Call of Duty on the Q90T outside of game mode at 120 hertz. It was not a problem for me at all. So 120 hertz definitely cuts that input lag in half, regardless of what mode you're in. But Samsung does a really good job of its non-game mode features. So that's something that if you guys like gaming outside of game mode, uh, Samsung is a good one for that. Let's see. Did I miss anybody's questions? I feel like I got everybody's questions so far. Here's one. Grabbing a G1. I'm probably not going to grab the G1 just because it's so similar to the C1. And I don't know, man. I don't have anywhere to mount it. Like I would have to go out and buy a stand for it. So that's another hoop that I have to jump through. I do appreciate the G1. Maybe if I eventually settle on a TV and it ends up being LG because I can't get past the fact of there's no extra HDMI 2.1 ports, or if I'm just not happy that Sony hasn't added VRR by the time I buy a TV, then maybe I'll go with the G1 because it is a good deal with a 5-year warranty. So I don't know. Why are you leaning towards the G1 rather than the A80J or A90J or whatever you're looking at? I would like to hear that. Let's see. Man, did you guys see the 900T from Samsung was like $27.99 and it offered a $300 gift card and then another $200 gift card. It was a 75-inch Q900T for $27.99 with all that stuff included. Like I missed it, or else I probably would have ended up getting it because that's a good deal. And I always wanted to try out 8K, but I don't know, maybe next year. Does anybody in the chat have an 8K TV? Stealth Dragon, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Here's a question. Should I get a A90J 65 or an A80J 77 for 8 feet? Ooh, 8 feet? That's quite a bit away. I don't know if 65 will be satisfy. Like I don't know if you'd be satisfied with 65 at 8 feet. So to me, I think the bigger TV is always going to be the answer, especially when you are at a further viewing distance. I would definitely go with the A80J 77 for this. Um, Thank you for the question, Joe. But personally, I like to be immersed with my screen, so sitting as close as possible without straining my eyes is the bet. As long as I don't see the end of the bezels or that's like the side of the bezels, that's all I care about. Lee, I won't be checking out any 8K models, unfortunately. The reason why I don't check out the bigger TVs is because the room that I tested in is up the stairs, and it is really a pain to carry up these TVs. And if I'm not keeping the TVs, the logistics of taking those TVs back and having to return them to the store is tough. So, or even trying to sell it, it's a tough thing to sell the bigger TVs sometimes. A90J and never turning back. I have the A90J and I really don't want to return it either. Um, and man, I want to test the other TVs out though first. I can't decide on a TV until I see the X95J, until I see the LG QNED. I want to see all this stuff before I make a decision on a TV. So I'm being very particular about my personal TV set. And I wasn't gonna buy a TV this year, honestly. I was gonna just stick with the Q90T, but now that I'm doing this a little bit more, I feel like I kind of have to buy a TV this year. Best viewing distance for 65-inch. Um, let's see. I sit about 5 to 6 feet away from my 65-inch, and even then, I want a bigger TV. So 4 feet. I don't know. What do you guys think in the chat? What is the best viewing distance for 65-inch? I think it depends, right? Like, what kind of person are you? Do you want to be up on the screen? Do you want to just have a clear view? I don't know. That's tough. I think neither of us will settle for TV. You're right. You're right. I think for sure you're right. They're just gonna keep releasing TVs on us. Like the TCLs don't come out until what, August? So who knows, right? Who knows when are we gonna settle for a TV? I'll tell you what, if somebody offers me a really good deal, or if I see like a really good deal on Best Buy on like a 2020 C10 or something like that, or even one of those 8K Samsungs from last year, like I might pull the trigger. But I don't know, I'm sort of settling that I might go for OLED just because I have the Q90T already and I want to have two different TVs. It's tough because I like the Q98 also. Let's see. It's something you need to pay attention to right here is Keep It Classy Tech. He's testing the G1 out. So anybody interested in the G1, he had the C1 and the A80J. So he knows what you'll be missing if there's anything better on the G1, he'll tell you about it. And it is brighter, right? But it's still peak brightness is still locked, right? It's a good tip there. Keep it classy. A lot of the individual retailers are going to give you way better deals than Best Buy and Amazon and stuff like that. So the great thing about Amazon and Best Buy though is that if you are not sure what TV you have or what TV you want, They don't care. They'll return it and they'll give you your money back and let you swap it for another TV. So they're really good about that. I would say if you're settled on the TV you want, then go to a individual retailer and get the best deal possible. I'm curious to see, has anybody tried the U6G? I know that it's definitely more budget, but I get questions asked about this TV all the time, and I'm trying to figure out what's so special about the U6G. I know the UAG is supposed to be pretty decent, um, but the ghosting scares me, man. The ghosting scares me on the UAG. I'd love to know. And then the X85J is another question I get a lot, but that's edgelit, I think, right? Isn't the X85J edgelit? I know it's a 120 hertz panel, which is nice, but it is edgelit. Let's see. Oh man, that's a good one. There's some pretty okay TVs. TCL makes some okay TVs that are lower end, and so does Hisense. But you gotta expect what you pay for when it comes to that stuff. Is anybody in chat looking at a TV that's under $1,500? I would love to hear that because that's something that I have a hard time figuring out what to even say is the best TV. I think the Q80T is being offered for pretty cheap nowadays, and if you can find a good deal on that, that's not a bad TV for sure. So all these 2020 TVs, you want to look at the closeout specials for sure. And I'm gonna go back to this Best Buy open box thing. Go ahead and check out the open box sections if you're ever around a Best Buy and see what there is because the open box deals can be pretty good. If you have the truck for carrying it home or, a bigger TV, it's going to give you better deals for sure. But OLED definitely going to want to get that warranty if you get open box. But LCD, you don't have to worry about an open box warranty, especially from Best Buy. Here's a little tip that open box at Best Buy at the end of the year is usually their display models. And for LCD TVs, the vendors themselves have to make sure that these TVs are very clean. Like, so you're not going to see too many TVs that are display models that have dirty screen effect. They're usually picking really clean panels. So that's pretty good. That's one good thing about buying open box at the end of the year when it's the display model. But if it's just a return, you can definitely have DSE, and that might be a reason why they returned it. So here's another question. Considering purchasing an LG C1 83 for a dark room use, in your opinion, is there any other TV that would give me FOMO? Thanks in advance. That's a good TV for sure. 83-inch dark room use. The only TV that would give you FOMO is going to be the A90J. And if you're going to have FOMO over that, just remember that that TV is not going to have multiple HDMI 2.1 ports. VRR is not there yet. Um, and to be honest with you, an 83-inch OLED, no matter what brand it is, I think is going to be very good. So I wouldn't really have FOMO if you purchased it, especially considering the big price gap there between a 83 C1 and an 83 A90J. Like, you really have to give me a lot more with the A90J for me to pay that extra amount of money? It depends. Depends on your budget, but if you're settled on a C1 83-inch, I think it's a fantastic TV, man. No doubt about it. Jumping all in soon, upgrading Sonos Playbar to the Arc. I want to check out the Arc. I have a Sonos Beam right now and two left and right speakers. So I definitely want to check out the Arc. The Beam is pretty good though for what it is. It's not EARC, so I can't tell you if I have any issues with that. It's just regular ARC. But yeah, that would be a sick setup. 77-inch G1, Sonos Arc, like that would be a sick setup. And let me know how that Arc is because I might upgrade my Beam to an Arc. But I heard like the best upgrade you can do for a Sonos system is just to add a subwoofer to your existing Sonos setup. Let's see. Does anybody have a Sonos subwoofer that can speak to that? That'd be dope. Let's see. Oh, okay, you already have a sub. That's good. That's good. Yeah, Arc is the next upgrade then, for sure. Let me know how that is when you get it. I'd love to hear about it. In the process of owning a QN900A for 75, great price. Wow, that's awesome. An 8K QN900A. I would love to see that in person. I have to talk to some people that I know that work at the Magnolia Best Buy and see if I can get a showing of that. Like, 'cause that TV is sick. Um, I've seen the QN900A in the 65-inch. It looked very similar to a QN90A. So I think, just going up in sizes with those mini LED TVs is going to be just a good thing because you're getting more dimming zones, and that's never a bad thing. So that's awesome, Stealth Dragon. Let me know how you like that when you get it. The dimming zones work well in game mode for QN90. Do the dimming zones work good? So when I tested it, the dimming zones for the QN90A performed well for the most part. There was definitely some bugs that I ran into where the left side of the screen would light up when there was nothing that needed to be lighted up. So it would sometimes trip up the local dimming. I think they've since fixed that. I don't know because I don't have the QN90A no more. So I wasn't able to test that update. But that's one thing that I did run into. So whether that still does that, I'm not sure. A great place to ask would be on AVS forums and just ask if anybody's having issues with the dimming zones. For the most part, I hear a lot of people love the dimming on the QN90A. The infinity screen, I think is what they call it. And yeah, that is really cool. No border. That is awesome. Did I like the D65 calibrated A80J or the default 6800? There was times in your video, it's hard to tell, right? Because judging a YouTube video is the toughest thing to do. As you know, it looks way different filming in person. But I trust you do a really good job filming. And there was times where I thought that the brighter one looked way better. And then there was another time where I thought that I just preferred the way the default looked. It seemed like it had a nice tone to it, but for sure, the way you made the brightness pop on a lot of those, scenes when it was white involved, it stuck out so much, and so if anybody has an ADJ and they wanna mess around in the settings menu and the service menu, check out Keep It Classy Tech's new video. He showed how to make, your TV have more brightness and without having to go through some, like, real crazy calibration, so, yeah, I thought that the higher brightness one looked better for the most part, and then there was times where the calibrated one definitely had a better tone to it, but yeah, the brightness was undeniable for sure, and you could see it in the video, which I thought you captured perfectly. That's a good point. Anybody looking to calibrate their sets, sometimes it does look a little bit dimmer than what you would have had out of the box with just like dialing in your favorite settings. It will look dimmer. It might look more accurate, but it will definitely seem more dimmer to a lot of people. Ian bought the Arc a few weeks back and he loves it. No sub yet, but it sounds great. I know you didn't write yet, but I'm sure you'll add that eventually. I know that I keep fighting with myself. I need to add that. But I'll say this about the A90J and the A80J sound systems. It's almost as good as the Beam. And I love the onboard sound from the A90J. So if anybody's buying an A90J or an A80J, I don't even know if you really need to upgrade your sound unless you want like uh left and right speakers and a subwoofer. Let's see here. Should I upgrade my A80J to an A90J? I don't think so personally. I don't think that the price jump is worth it. Um, unless you really care about brightness. Like if you really care about bright specular highlights, then a really bright screen, then A90J is gonna be, what you want to jump to. But I would say only 10% of the time was the A90J better than the A80J. And like I showed in my video, the A80J sometimes seemed like it had more depth than the A90J, and I got a lot of flack for saying that, but it's what I saw with my eyes. And for whatever reason, the XR processor seems to handle things differently on the A90J and the A80Js. Like, so I think they have their own algorithms. And I tried to talk about this on the live stream, but I didn't really get to my point fast enough. It was it's tough because when you're looking at the XR processor, you can see it sometimes working better on one TV than the other. So it's not always consistent. And it seems like the XR processor is just picking and choosing moments where it wants to highlight the highlights or add some sharpness. Because, like, a user pointed out on one of the Fortnite videos that I had side by side, it was like a side by side gaming and it was a Fortnite clip. And there was a grill, like a barbecue grill, and he said that it looked like it was blurry on the A90J, but it was clear on the A80J. So it's weird that the XR processor seems to be picking and choosing moments. So, but in terms of like should you upgrade, I don't think it's worth the extra money. If you already have the A80J and you're happy with it, I would stick to the A80J. I love talking tech, so I don't know how long these live streams will be, to be honest with you. I was gonna cut it soon, but honestly, I'm having fun answering questions, and I'm not really caring if this gets a lot of views after the fact. I'm more about like this right now, like process. Like, let's talk about tech, like right now, and I'll answer questions, and I'll ramble, and I might even sound, like an idiot sometimes, but that's okay. Um, as long as you guys appreciate the talk, I'm here to stay. Um, Tested Resident Evil 7 on the QN90A went to the basement of the house and it was only black where it was supposed to be. That's good. That's good. That means that the local dimming is performing the way it's supposed to be, which is not what I had when I tested it the first time. It was definitely acting up from time to time. So it seems like they're ironing out that with firmware updates. Samsung does a really good job with their firmware updates. It might take time, but they do fix things. The Q90T, when it launched, was a buggy mess, man. That thing had inverse ghosting everywhere. And if you're not familiar with what inverse ghosting is, it's when there's like a green um, cast coming off of the character. It's like a green shadow, almost a green purple shadow. And that's apparently what the U8G is dealing with right now. So it'll be interesting to see if Hisense will fix that. But Samsung definitely fixes their issues when they have them. Um, but when they say they're going to have like ERC and they don't provide updates, a lot of people can't get over that. So I get that. All right, let me see. How do I invite you? Do you know? I'm gonna figure this out. I figured it out. All right. Invite. I'm gonna invite Keep It Classy Tech. Hold on, really quick. Let's see. I'm gonna send it through Twitter. Okay. Oh yeah, and that reminds me, if you guys aren't following me on Twitter, go ahead and do it. It's at produced by KG, and you can also just look me up with by typing in tech with KG. Here you go. Keep It Classy is coming on to fill the void. Ah, I disappeared. There, I'm back. Okay. 50 viewers right now. That's crazy. Thank you for coming by, everybody. If you have any questions at all, drop them in the chat. That's what we're here for. We're here to answer questions. Did you get that invite, Classy? I'm looking to have Jolster on to talk some gaming too. I really appreciate his takes on gaming. I think Jolster is a really awesome dude. I love what he's doing with the Dolby Vision gaming. He's showing people how to get it, and he's showing people what it's all about. You know, I like the way he did the U8G gaming review. He really showcased what gaming TVs are supposed to be. So that's pretty cool. And that's what I think a lot of reviews could be missing, a lot of gaming insights. Okay, so here's something about the near black handling on the A90J. I noticed this as well on my set. The A90J's near black definitely appears to be raised in comparison to the A80J when it was side by side. I dropped it to 49. It helped a little bit. It started to crush some black, but honestly, then I dropped it to 47. You're crushing a ton of black, but it's very satisfying. I would say like the black level at 47 on the A90J is almost like a C1 at that point, where it's crushing some blacks. So it's definitely it is definitely only specific to near black scenes, like review for the tube has highlighted. What's the most important thing to you when you're looking at a display? Well, it's definitely a preference thing, right? So you're asking my preference for the most important thing. And I think the most important thing for me is picture quality. And that's why I've picked the A80J and the A90J so far over the C1 is because of picture quality. And that's really all I'm judging it by is how good does the image look in general. The important things to a lot of other people might be the features that it has and how many HDMI 2.1 ports does it have? Because LG does a really good job with that. Um, Another thing that could be really important is how good are the firmware updates? Are they going to break your TV? Are they going to make your TV worse? Some people care about that stuff, and I think Samsung does a pretty good job with firmware updates, and LG does too, but they tend to sometimes break things. Every TV company does with updates. So the most important thing I guess is picture quality in general. I have to make sure that it is 120 hertz. I don't I don't really mess with 60 hertz screens ever, and I don't tend to mess with edge-lit TVs, though there are some nice looking edge-lit TVs. I have a Q7 FN, which is edge-lit, and I like it. So definitely gonna be image quality over everything else. Exactly. The most important thing is image quality, which, like, I got a lot of flack for saying that the A80J was better than the C1 for gaming. Everybody's like, "No way. The C1 is the gaming TV." Everybody says it's the gaming TV, so how is the A80J a better gaming TV? But you can't go off of what everybody is saying just because it has multiple HDMI 2.1 ports, it has better VRR support. That doesn't make it a better gaming TV. It just makes it better functionality for gamers, right? But to me, a better gaming TV is the best image quality possible. Like, why are we buying these next gen consoles for if we can't enjoy the image quality to the best of its ability? So that's why I say the A80J is better image quality than the C1. So, yeah. Uh, Keep it classy tech. You there, man? All right. He said he's hooking up the cam. All right. I missed that. All right. We're good. Let's see. Can you talk about the noise flickering during dark contents for OLED? So I watched it, TV show on Hulu, Cruel Summer. If you guys have seen it, it's actually a pretty good show. It's a teen drama. I love my teen dramas. They're pretty cool. We got a scene where it's like in a darker kind of environment. They're like in a basement, and the scene just started flickering on both the A80J and the C1 when I was testing it. And so I noticed that, and I went to the Samsung and I didn't see that same thing happen. So it's definitely on near black. It's very rare. It's on SDR content only. You'll see it sometimes, but it's not something that happens a lot. Okay, we got keep it. You ready? Oh no, he's gone. He disconnected. Okay. Let's see. Joester is so chill and honest. He is. He's an awesome dude. Awesome dude. I also want to say, like, I appreciate everybody in the community so far that is in this YouTube space, how welcoming they've been. I've been here for like a year. So for them to like show me love and put me on streams with them, like Stop the FOMO's really nice guy. Be the Installer, really nice guy. Whisper Status, really nice guy. Jolster, really nice guy. Keep It Classy Tech, he's new just like me, and they've been so welcoming to us. So that's pretty awesome. And Keep It Classy Tech's really cool. That's why I have him on the stream whenever I can. I will have him on the stream whenever I can because I can relate to him. He's a very relatable guy. I talk to him on Twitter all the time. We talk about TVs. Very like-minded person, and that's cool to me. Let's see. QFN 75 is the TV, or Q9FN is your TV. That's a good TV. That's a good TV. There's no doubt about that. Hey, you good?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but I can't hear anything yet. Hold on.
Okay, I can hear you. Oh, Stop the FOMO. He's by. He said he's driving and listening. Keep up the good work. Hey, thank you, Stop the FOMO. I appreciate you having me on the streams, man. Having me and Classy on, like I said, showing love to the smaller channels. That's just amazing. Thank you again for that. What's up?
Yep.
Keep it classy tech. Welcome.
All right. Was having problems with the mic working. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Yeah. Okay. Just on break, and my kids are hopefully settled. But if you hear them, let me know, and I'll mute.
For sure, for sure.
So yeah, I can start going back through some of the chats I missed.
Yeah. Hey, you want to talk about your experience so far with the G1?
Yeah. 1 second. So it's kind of mixed. So like out of the gate, when you first open it, for some reason, I think it's LG just doesn't let their panels run long enough when they make them, because I think they get them from LG Display and they just trust that they're good. I think Sony spends time letting them run to make sure that they were good from LG Display, because that would be a liability for coming from another company. And I think that's why with the Sony, you don't have to break them in as much. So you can see behind me, it's breaking in. Because I noticed on the C1 and the G1, they're extremely dark when you first open them, whereas the Sony was pretty much fine.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the SDR gaming is notably brighter than the C1. Like it's technically a 10% increase at a 10% window, but when you look at like the 100% full field, it's more like a 20-25% increase. So for something like Fortnite, that makes a big difference. And
That's
then there's
awesome.
no dimming when you turn off that logo luminance thing.
That's good. That's good to hear. That's great. Yeah, your the video you put up today, the A80J comparison, where you had the D6500 calibration versus the default out of the box, right? It was out of the box, and you just cranked up the brightness in settings
Yeah,
in the service menu.
so I took full measurements just out of the box custom mode. And then what I wanted to do was see how far you could push in the service menu to get it. And so I found that when you pushed it that much, it does make the gamma raise a little bit. But when you drop the black level down to 49, it fixes that. So like I have the measurements, they're literally identical. It's just you go from around 800 nits to around 900.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
anyone who's worried about that too, it's like if you put the TV in vivid mode, you're already going to be over 900, so it's not going to cause any harm to it.
Yeah. Now, I noticed the difference in the video, so for sure. Like, was it that much noticeable as it was in the video in person? Like, did it blow you away, or
In my
was it like?
opinion, even not viewing it side by side like that, just switching from one to the other, you could tell the difference
Mhm.
in the brightness. But you could also tell, at least in my opinion, that the D65 had better colors,
Yeah. Okay.
or like skin tones, cloud colors, stuff like that.
Did you test it a lot in gaming at all, or?
Yeah, so in gaming, I preferred the brighter mode. I mean, especially because it kind of helps to offset the dimming. So like if you use peak luminance at medium in SDR gaming, it doesn't dim as much, but you get that extra brightness from it, so it kind of helps push it up a little bit and combats the whole dimming issue with it.
Yeah, so ABL, was that as noticeable, or was it more noticeable since it was brighter when it gets darker?
Well, like if you had peak luminance on high, and
Mhm.
let's say it's starting around 400 nits, and then it cuts that in half, so you're about 250 once it kicks in all the way. With that brightness increase, you would start at 450, and then it would still cut in about half. But if you use the medium on the peak luminance, then it doesn't cut nearly as much when it dims.
Mhm.
So it helps to offset that dimming.
That's good. Yeah, one thing I noticed the ABL so much, with the A80J and the C1, but, like, with the A90J, I didn't notice it too much at all, and that speaks to the heatsink, I think, more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think ABL is a big issue for OLEDs?
All right. Well, I mean, from going by what you said, that it's not even the ABL, it's the the image retention prevention,
Well,
which
yeah, it's
makes
that
sense.
too, right?
And so, like, I mean, to me, the image retention, even with that, it's like you can see at the very beginning of my video that S&M logo is
Mhm.
like stuck on the screen for a bit. So if the
Yeah.
A90J, the heatsink, can help with the image retention, then I'm assuming the dimming would be the bonus to that it doesn't dim as much because it doesn't have as much image retention.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that's kind of scary that you see the image retention like that on the A80J? Like, do you think that has any effect towards long-term burn-in? Like, because
I don't know.
it's worrisome. It's honestly like when I see it, I'm like, oh, whoa. It's like it's kind of jarring almost.
My feeling is if you buy an LG, you don't necessarily need the warranty, especially now if it's the G1. If you buy the Sony, I would get the warranty.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt about it. I think if you're looking at a C1, don't you automatically kind of shift towards a G1 now? Like,
oh yeah,
for a lot of
oh, yeah.
people.
I mean,
it's such a good deal. Like,
yeah, 3,500 for the 77 versus 4,200.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like, if you went to Best Buy, the warranty on the C1 is $1,000.
Yeah,
so it's cheaper to get the G1, and then you get a $100 stand if you need it.
Right. That's a really good point. Man, I lost this chat I was going to put up. Okay, here it is. Did LG officially confirm that the 5-year G1 warranty covers burn-in? So they didn't confirm it, but if you look at the way that they word it, it pretty much states that they do cover it as long as you don't abuse your TV or use it for retail modes. Like, so when they say using it for retail, they mean like if you have it up on a store and you have your prices up for like your storefront or something like that. Of course, that's going to burn in and they probably won't cover that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you use it for a storefront for like, if you use it for a sign on a storefront, they won't cover that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and the other thing, I was gonna say the other thing to keep in mind is that warranty only covers the panel; it doesn't cover anything else. So it's you have your 1 year, everything's covered, and then years 2 through 5, it's just the panel that's covered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's also questionable if labor will be covered. The way that it's worded, it might just be parts.
Good point. I've heard
some with horror how good LG is, I'm sure people will get that waived.
Yeah. I've heard some horror stories about like refrigerators and stuff on the service end. Let's see. You see any more questions? I haven't really been paying attention to chat too much. Jeez. Let's see.
A Leon was the next one I saw. QN90A, A80J. For PS5, watching movies, getting Series X.
Okay. This one right here, right?
I mean, to me, if you're not tied down to either brand and you're going to have multiple next-gen systems, you might just want to look at, the G1.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say that. Like, if you're already experimenting with 2 next-gen consoles, your QN90A is not going to be for you because that's only one. And then when we're talking about the A80J, if you're going to even consider using an EARC device, like a soundbar, then you're not going to be able to use both systems at the same time in the circumstances that you want it. Like, you're not always going to need it in HDMI 2.1 mode, but it is nice because it does reduce the input lag if you have it running at 120 hertz. So,
and yeah, you briefly mentioned earlier the LG QNET. Like, I'm kind of interested in seeing how that does.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's one of the ones that's really on my radar because of how much I love the QN90A. If LG can deliver that same amount of brightness on their panel, I'd be curious to see it. I'm not a fan of their nano TVs though. Like, their nano TVs just look dim. Like, when you see them in person, even when you see them in stores, they're just underwhelming. It's like, I don't know what happened. They used to have those super UHD TVs. They looked super bright in the store, and now like the nano cells, they don't look as good. So I think is it the IPS panel that's really like holding it back?
IPS panels are typically limited to around 1,000 to 1,500 on a native contrast ratio. So that's just what makes so you really have to have a bright room for that to not matter as much.
Yeah, but on the flip side, it seems like Samsung kind of figured out how to make IPS a little bit brighter because the QN85A, everybody's saying that's a bright TV. And
they can be bright. They're just the contrast ratio is just crap. Like, if you look at the contrast ratio on the 85A, it's still low. I mean, it's high for an IPS, but it's still low compared to a VA.
Right. But with local dimming involved, like how
Yeah,
much does that matter?
that's where like people say you got to read the ratings review because
Hmm.
they show a really low contrast ratio, but they're saying, hey, in person, it doesn't look as low as it measures. So
Yeah, exactly. So that is one of those things that people have to keep in mind for the native contrast ratio is that a lot of times when we're talking about LCD TVs, you're not going to have local dimming off. So you're not going to really see that native contrast ratio come into play too much.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, let's move on to the next question. All right. He has a 900E, which was a fantastic TV, by the way. Like, I love the 900E. Um, completely content with the black levels. All right. I'm wanting to jump up to 85-inch, seeking recommendations. What do you think a good jump from the 900E would be to like an 85-inch? Are you thinking like the 900H or the 90J or?
From when I had the 900H, there was quite a few people who had the E and then went to
Mhm.
the H and wasn't happy.
Yeah.
So I would say wait for the 95J and then maybe wait for a bit of a price drop because 4,500 launch on that 85 is a bit high.
Yeah. The QN90A was like 4,000 right now
Mm-hmm.
for 85-inch. That's a good one to think
Yeah.
about. Um, maybe even the QN85A because at 85 inches it's a VA panel. So if you can catch a good deal on the QN85A, that might be a good deal with it being a VA panel. So
Mm-hmm.
let's see who's next.
Yeah, and I can say too with if anyone here saw our my discussion on Dolby Vision gaming and how it cleared up the banding. It seems that part of that was also having to do with Sony's just really good gradient, because on the LG and Dolby Vision, I mean, it still helps over HDR10 with the color banding, but it is still visible as well. And I know the LG gradient handling isn't as good as Sony's, so I'm still
Yeah.
working on testing that more.
Hmm. Yeah, no, when I tested the A90J, sorry, the A80J and the C1 side by side, I noticed that in 60 hertz, like the gradation on the A80J was just so much better than the C1. And even when I put it in PC mode, I still saw banding. So that was supposedly supposed to fix that, but I still saw it. And then when you use gradation, smooth gradation on the C1, it didn't work. Like it didn't work at all. And you said it's grayed out for you, right?
When I looked for it, it was grayed out, but I was also messing with going from Dolby Vision to HDR to PC mode to non-PC mode to VRR on and off. So I got to play with the settings more and see if anything gets it to ungray. But I was trying everything I could to see what would eliminate the banding or at least get it to the same level as the Sony, and no combination of settings would look as clear as being on the Sony with Dolby Vision and or with the smooth gradation turned on like to medium or whatever on the Sony.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's one thing I did notice though, that it seemed like the smooth gradation worked better on the Sony. In general, it seemed like the processing was handled better. And I didn't notice any like fine details drop out until it got to about high on the smooth gradation. Did you experience the same thing with the 80J? I don't know how much you played with the smooth gradation.
I just when looking at the banding, like in Dirt 5, I had that part where I could see the banding in the sky, but it like a detailed mountain next to it. So
Mhm.
that's where I was checking the how much smooth gradation was too much.
Yeah.
And I found medium to look pretty good. Most of the banding was gone, and I didn't see anything change on that mountain. High, it was maybe just like the very, very small bit, but I mean, honestly, I think most people wouldn't even notice. They would see a bigger improvement having the smooth gradation on high than having it on a lower setting and seeing some banding.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I hope. I mean, if I got I got to see if I can figure out how to get the smooth gradation to ungray. But if it doesn't really seem like it does anything, I hope LG can update it so that it does do something, even if it does cost a few milliseconds in input lag, I would make that trade-off.
Yeah. So I keep seeing this comment on my YouTube channel and people saying that on the PS5, if you change the transfer rate, you can reduce the banding for some games. So that's an interesting thing. Why, like, do you think that has anything to do with the transfer, like the cable being 40 gigabytes and not 48? Like, I don't think it does, but like, what's
I
your
don't
take
think
on
so.
that?
So, you know the Spears and Munzel disc? So Stacy
Mhm.
Spears,
Yeah, yeah.
he was specifically talking about, um, you know, movie or TV Dolby Vision.
Mhm.
But he said Dolby Vision uses increased dithering to reduce banding. So that would make sense if that carries over to Dolby Vision gaming, and
Yeah.
that's why that helps a little bit. And then you just the like I said, the better gradient control that Sony has. Like if you look up the ratings reviews, you can see the Sony scores a good point or so higher than
Mhm.
LG when it comes to the gradient. So I think it's a combination between the two that made the Sony look better with the banding.
Gotcha.
It just sucks that Sony doesn't have that Dolby Vision game mode.
Hey, you mind soloing really quick? Hold on first. Let's hold on. It's a super chat from Leon. He said, "Thanks for the answer, guys. Now we're gonna see if there's any drops on Prime Day of prices. His Vizio is dying. Well, condolences to your Vizio, man. I hope that the new TV you get is going to be awesome. Thank you for the super chat. I'm gonna step out just for a second to go check on my dog because it's
Okay.
barking. So I'll be right back.
All right, let me see what you guys are saying. So I'm hoping the X95J will get a Dolby Vision game mode because then that's really going to be on my radar. Um, so if the pink tint, don't worry about it too much. I mean, I think Sony has less visible pink tint for some reason. At least that seems to be the average that I'm seeing on the forums. But even still, unless you watch a lot of hockey, you shouldn't worry about it. Let's see. Alucard, that's just running color slides. So what that does is there's pure red, green, blue, then cyan, yellow, magenta, black, and white. So what that does is it ages each pixel evenly. So that's the best way to break in a either an OLED or a plasma or whatever type TV. So I do that for the first 100 hours or so. Does nothing really to do with calibration. All it does is it just makes it break in faster because I can run this when I'm not home, and I don't have to worry about there being any kind of static images stuck on the screen or anything.
Cool. Good. Good answer there. Thanks for holding it down. So I want to touch on the tint. Um, for the tint, I honestly, people ask me about this tint thing all the time, and
Mm.
on angle, like when you're just viewing it straight up, I don't see it at all ever. The only time I see it is if I'm running like some white slides, you know, where it switches the from like 100% to 90% to 80. When I'm testing that, like I can see a little bit of pink tint on these TVs, but like straight on, I don't notice any difference with the color. What do you think on that with the tint? You think it's an
Uh,
issue or?
well, that's what I was saying. Like if someone's watching like a lot of hockey or something, it might be.
Oh, okay,
It
I
depends
didn't
on their
hear that
angle.
part.
It depends on like if they have it mounted high. Like if I'm looking at white right now and I turn my head, I only see it on the far right side from this angle. If I'm looking straight on, it almost gives like a fisheye effect where it's just around like the
Okay,
side and then you move your head and it moves. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's not that big of a deal. Although I will say this particular panel that I got is not very good. And I'm noticing about this much of it on each side is darker. You might even be able to pick that up.
oh, yep,
Especially on yellow. When yellow comes around, it almost looks green on the sides.
yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that, and I've also noticed that sometimes with LG OLEDs, there seems to be like vignetting around the sides on certain
Mm.
content. Like I was playing Resident Evil, and I noticed that it almost looked like the game was running in like a vignette mode on the C1, but on the A80J, there wasn't that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you can get a bad panel with anyone. I mean, like the last X90J that I had gotten was like the worst I'd ever seen. But in general, I would say usually Sony is pretty good with their quality control.
Yeah.
Like right here with yellow, I don't know if you can see, but right there, it's darker from edge to about there.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's good. Cool. Any comments we're missing here? Thanks to everybody so far, by the way. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say Monster, I don't see it in real content. Like I said, if looking at the Spears and Munzel disc where it's like all snow, then you can kind of see it. Or if you're someone who watches hockey and you're just seeing all white, then you might see it. But in any kind of color content, you're not going to see it.
Gotcha. So I wanted to ask, since you did a review on the Apple TV and you have the NVIDIA Shield, what are the benefits to the NVIDIA Shield over the Apple TV in terms of like your picture quality? Because you said it does AI. Could you like speak on that a little bit?
So, I mean, when on your Sony's, how much have you played with the reality creation? Did you use off, auto, manual? Did you set it high, set it low? What did you use it for?
So I've tried it. I've tried it all the way up to 100 at one point. And it definitely does some cool things to the picture. Over sharpens it a bit at 100. But I feel like people that want a vivid style mode, if you use reality creation at like 50 and you crank up your brightness and you crank up your advanced contrast, like you can get a pretty good looking vivid mode as long as you understand that it's not going to be director's intent. You're still going to get some fantastic looking images. And that's really cool. I do love the reality creation like you're speaking to. Is that something that NVIDIA sort of does?
So that's kind of similar to what the AI enhanced is on the Shield, except that it's like reality creation amplified. Like it's even better. But it's really only for 720p 1080p type content. So like I actually put up like a image of a guy from Smallville. So it was an older show streaming on Hulu. So it's maybe 720p at best. SDR, like it's a worst case scenario. And then I was showing turning up and the reality creation and then turning on and off the AI enhanced and all that. The problem is afterwards when I went back and watched it on the footage, it made it look way more grainy than I was seeing in person. So I don't want to show it.
Yeah.
I don't have the TV to try and redo a different scene. So, but I would say the two, especially if you have a Sony and you have reality creation, you set it either manual, like at a low number, like 20 or less, or set it to auto, and then you have a Shield and you set that to low. The two of them work together very, very well so that something like Smallville streaming on Hulu looks 4K.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. I'm all for like extra processing as long as it doesn't hurt the image quality.
Yeah, it's not edge enhancement sharpening like the sharpness setting does. It's I think what it does is it looks for lines and it increases or decreases contrast around those lines.
Yeah. So I'll go back to this in a second, but it looks like FOMO is in the house.
Yep.
Stop the FOMO asked, what do you guys think is worse, visible banding or pink tint?
The banding for sure.
Yeah, I think that's the visible banding. Are you talking about like color banding in the skies like we were talking about earlier, or are you talking about like actual uniformity banding? But in both cases I would say banding though.
Yeah. So another thing is this one, I'm guessing it's either the grid or banding or whatever, except it's really close together. So I don't know if you've seen it, but like they're maybe a centimeter apart. I'm seeing horizontal lines across the whole screen.
Have you ever seen this? Like, it almost looks like image retention, but I didn't have a logo in this place. Sometimes I see a white like light, kind of like it just sort of brightens the screen a little bit more than other areas on the A80J.
Like a hotspot.
Yeah. Did you ever see that
from time to time?
Okay. So is that a uniformity issue then? Or
yeah, that's just a certain part of the panel getting hotter than the other part.
Gotcha.
Another thing too I've noticed is right on the very edge, certain colors like green especially, there will be a red row of pixels, and it's been that way on both of the LGs.
Wow, I didn't encounter that. That would be interesting. Let's speak a little bit to the that spider web effect. I think people are calling it the Venetian blind effect. That's what Vince calls it.
See, I don't know exactly, just by the wording. I don't know if that's what I'm seeing, because what I'm seeing is literally horizontal lines
Hmm.
that are less than a centimeter apart, top to bottom across the whole display, only visible in very like. So when I was looking at the bright skies, looking for the banding, at
Hmm.
first I was seeing that, and then I was seeing the banding too. But I
Yeah.
noticed, this is static; it doesn't move, it doesn't change, whereas the banding is like a swirling, crawling effect.
Yeah. And so like in the skies, in the sun, that's where you'll see it. And in like white points of the sun. And one thing I noticed is like when I did pan the skies, it was almost similar to an LCD's dirty screen effect. Like the way when you pan, you see the dirty screen effect on LCD TVs, but when
Yeah.
you pan on with the not the dirty screen effect, but when you pan with that spider webbing type effect, the grid, people are calling it, it almost feels like a DSE
Yeah.
in a way.
And I didn't notice it on either of the 77s.
Oh, that's interesting because I heard it was more noticeable on 77s.
I think the thicker banding is more noticeable on the 77s, but this like little tiny line thing, I
Hmm.
didn't notice on either of them.
Yeah. So that is definitely some stuff you have to keep in mind with OLED. Um, but yeah, I mean, let's see. Other than that, there was something I was going to talk about. I forgot. Anything in chat we're missing here?
Just about the black crushing and all that.
Oh, okay.
I will say that definitely, like I was saying earlier, the LGs out of the box before they're broken in, that black crush is way, way worse than it is after it has some time on it. So when you first get one of the LGs, you're going to want to put the brightness setting probably to 60, and then every 20 hours or so, knock it down a click until you get back to 50.
I'm still
But
here. I guess my camera cut out. Hold on. Let me figure that out.
uh,
You can keep talking. Hold on.
yeah, yeah. So I was seeing around 140 to 150 hours. Then the brightness could go back to 50 and be normal. But even at that point, it does uh, the 5 through 40 range on the EOTF curve is a little bit low on the LGs. So it's not really crushed blacks, but it's more like the darker grays just aren't as bright as they're supposed to be. Whereas Sony kind of goes the opposite way and over brightens, but by a very, very small amount and only in a smaller section. So that's why, like, if you're going to get calibrated, it doesn't really matter. But if you're not going for calibration, then it's a reason to consider the Sony. Scott, the ABL is just, it's like that's why if you put up all white, it can only measure around 150, 160 nits or whatever, depending on the model. It's just a reduction so that it doesn't use too much energy and the panel doesn't get too hot and things like that. So the brighter the colors, the brighter the image, the larger the area, all of that will affect how the ABL is working and if you'll see it or not.
My bad. I had to like reposition my camera. It just like turned off.
That's right.
Do you have a manual zoom lens? That's what I have. Or not manual, but manual focus lens.
No, I'm using the kit lens right now. Normally I have the just the 20 millimeter on, but I didn't have time to set all that up.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for
Yeah, I'm
holding
trying to
it down.
find a good, like, 12 millimeter would be the highest I could go. I'm really
Mhm.
trying to find like an 8 to a 10 with a low aperture because it's inside that I could fit two TVs side by side in my room better. But I'm just
Mhm.
having a hard time finding a lens that's not $800 or something.
Yeah. Nah, lenses are expensive. Because at that point, like you almost buy a camera, right?
Yeah.
If anybody's got any recommendations on lenses or cameras in the chat, that's like not too expensive, I'd love to hear about it. But let's talk about TVs still. And somebody was talking about Bravia Core. I don't know if you talked about this already, but did you play with Bravia Core at all?
Yeah, and there was a period there before Sony released an update for it where if you did a factory reset, it would reset your token so you could keep getting them. Well, I had gotten, because I had the X90J and the 80J, I had 15 tokens, and then I did a factory reset, and I'm like, it just gave me 5 more. So I ended up with 20 movies on there that I can't watch now because I don't have the Sony TV. But
Yeah.
my problem with it was the Ethernet ports are 10100, and you need a 115 megabit per second connection for Bravia Core to stream its 80 megabit per second video quality.
Mhm.
So you have to use the Wi-Fi, or you have
Yep.
to get a USB 3 to gigabit Ethernet. I bought one of those, but it was the wrong chipset. That's not compatible. Apparently, there's only like 1 or 2 chipsets out there for those Ethernet adapters that will work with the Sony TVs, because it has to have the driver for it already.
Yeah.
Um, so that's what I would do, is I would try and track down that exact model and then give up your USB 3 point for that, or port for that. Because my Wi-Fi, like, I have Wi-Fi 6. It's a $300, Asus router, and it's
Uh-oh.
but my internet speed on that TV it didn't matter if it was wired or through the Wi-Fi. Sometimes it was fine. Sometimes it would top at like 20 or 30. So there's something going on, and it wasn't just me. There's a bunch of people on AVS forum having problems with the internet connection on the A80J.
Yeah, no. I'm still having problems with the A90J's internet connection. So, and I experienced it with the 80J. It just drops like out of nowhere. Um, yeah, that's a problem. I think that might be something I have to talk about more, is that there is connectivity issues with the Sonys, and it's clear if multiple people are saying it, it's a problem, right? Wouldn't you agree? Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, it's hard to track down the exact USB 3 to gigabit Ethernet adapter.
Mhm.
Um, if you can, I'd say get one while you can. I
Yeah.
think it's made by TP-Link or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It just sucks that they won't put that Bravia Core app on. Like, if it was on the Shield, I'd be able to use it. I'd be happy.
Hey, which game announcements are you guys excited for? Oh, okay. Um, man, there was a couple yesterday. Starfield, I kind of knew that was coming, but when he said it's basically like Skyrim in space, I was like, yeah, I'm on board. um, and then Stalker 2 looked really good. And then they showed that vampire game at the end that looks pretty cool from Arcane Studios.
See, my problem with that one at the end is that it basically looks, one, it was like a 8-minute CG trailer, so we have no idea.
Yeah.
But it looks like Left 4 Dead Vampires Edition. So
Yeah, it
to
kind
me,
of
it
looks
was a
like
low
that.
point to end it on.
Mhm. It did make it look like that. I looked a little bit more into it, so it was like, it could be single player or co-op based, and it's like a story-driven game.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
that could be cool.
I just hate that
Arcane is
they
pretty good.
show such a long CG, because like it could be good, it could be bad. There's no like, and if it comes out next year, like it should be far enough along. They could have shown some gameplay.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
don't know. For me, because of how little time that I have, Battlefield is like the main thing I'm looking forward to, and then Halo, and then maybe some Forza. But
Mhm.
I just don't
Like
have
games
enough
you'll
time
actually
to play
play.
what I want to
Yeah.
play. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's like, games I'll actually play. It's probably Battlefield. Like that seems like it could be fun. Um, what would be really cool is if we got a lot of the streamers together and played some games on stream one time. I think that
Mhm.
would be pretty dope.
Yeah.
Whether that be like Call of Duty or Fortnite or something. But like by far, my favorite and most excited game is Elden Ring. Like, give me that today.
Mm.
And I won't, I can talk about that game forever, so I won't. But yeah, Elden Ring is definitely like the one I'm looking forward to the most. I'm a Souls like guy. I don't know. Do you play Souls like?
No. So I mean,
Nah.
anyone that's been watching me probably knows I play Destiny. I have over 5,000 hours across
Yeah.
Destiny. Right now, I'm actually kind of stepping away from it for a little bit until the Witch Queen comes out, just to try and play some other stuff because my time is so limited.
Yeah.
Bunch that I'm taking a little break from the game, but so it's kind of weird that that was like my go-to, that every night just play Destiny. But now doing videos and stuff, I just don't have time.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, Elden Ring does look amazing. I can't. Oh, Back for Blood. Will you be playing that? It's like Left 4 Dead.
Yeah, I'll probably try it.
Yeah, that would be cool. Actually, that would be a cool stream game
Hmm.
for sure. I love the first Left 4 Dead and the second one too. The part when you encounter the witch for the first time, I was like, okay, that's creepy. And it definitely felt like you should be afraid of that thing because it really just killed your whole squad like instantly. So I love stuff like that.
Oh, and Sea of Thieves, Jack Sparrow.
Oh yeah.
That's the first time I like I've played Sea of Thieves here and there, but it's the
Mhm.
fact that there's no story and no like actual reason to play it. But now that there is, I'm gonna play that for sure.
Exactly. Like, so if you ever played Sea of Thieves and you try the tutorial out, it's the Maiden's Voyage. Like the thing at the very beginning, it's so short, but it's fun. It's like, okay, this is a story-driven single player thing. And I'm surprised they don't have that more. So yeah, the
Yeah,
Jack Sparrow thing is cool
and
if it's
that comes
single
out
player based.
that comes out next week. So if you want to play it with me, my fiance, and my friend, I'll have 4 people.
Oh, that sounds fun. Yeah, no doubt.
Mhm.
That'd be cool. Maybe we'll even stream it. I got a
Yeah.
capture card
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, yeah. So are you good on time right now or just chilling? Just let me know whenever you
Yeah.
need to stop. I don't
Okay.
I don't really have a stop time, so just
Yeah.
chatting. FOMO, if you ever want to join the stream or something, just let me know. Just let me know. I'll send you the link. I know you said you were driving earlier though, so probably not when you're driving.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to jump in with Be the Installer on Wednesday. Just Wednesday is my busier route day, so I'm not sure what time I'll be back, but I'm gonna
Yeah,
try to.
Wednesday's so hard for me. Like I feel like I'm always doing something on Wednesday. So
Mhm.
I've always tried to catch his streams live on Wednesday, but I've never gotten to see him live yet. So
Mhm.
yeah, there's always something going on Wednesday, unfortunately. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, what's good days for you to stream?
It it my route changes constantly, so it kind of just depends. I work a lot of hours, but I also get to come home for a couple hours, so that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah,
And then like I try to spend Sunday, family day, and Saturday night, just get some relaxing time. But I don't know. That's what I was actually doing yesterday is trying to come up with a good schedule so I don't get like overrun because 75 hours a week at work, plus kids, plus family time, plus
hmm,
videos, like it's adding up a lot.
yeah. What I think a good way to look at this is like, man, this is chill. Like I don't even consider this work. This is just chatting.
Mhm. Yeah.
So like it's a good release, honestly. I was really nervous about doing this stream because like, I was like, what am I gonna talk about? But I was just like, let's just answer questions and see if this stream doesn't blow up. Because I've never done this before. So thanks for
Yeah.
joining me because that helps a lot.
Yeah.
Ease everything in. It's easier when there's two people because maintaining chat, and you'll probably see this when you start to stream too, is just like you definitely want to have a co-host on. Brawlhalla Ninja Turtles. You play Brawlhalla? I haven't played it before, but
No.
I like Ninja Turtles. So nah, I
Um,
haven't. I don't know anything about that, but I got Ninja Turtles on the arcade machine back here. It's pretty dope. If anybody's ever looking for an arcade like experience at home, the Legends Ultimate thing for like $500 at Walmart. It's like one of my favorite purchases that I did this year. I was gonna do a review video on it, but I'm not sure who would be interested in it. But I could still do a review video. It's pretty cool. Um, you ever thought about doing a home arcade setup?
so I'm actually kind of might be looking at moving so I can set up like a studio. Because
That's
right
cool.
now I mean, I'm doing this in my living room. So if I can do that, then I have a CRT with modded, classic consoles and stuff for component and all that. So I'll probably try to set all that up if I can get a bigger house with an extra room for doing this stuff.
Yeah. Um, so here's a super chat from Steven Bentz. He said, "When is the Xbox Series X worth the upgrade over the One X? Waiting for
I,
more optimized. I think it's worth it right now.
yeah, me too.
The difference in loading time is like night and day, and I think you'll appreciate the SSD and how fast it loads. For a lot of things. In terms of graphically, I don't know, like it's a huge upgrade. For some games it is,
It,
but I think it's more just the feel and the experience.
I've always been someone like when it comes to PC games, I would wait to play the game until I had the graphics card that could play it as good as it
Mhm.
could be played. So if you're like that, if you want to play the best versions of your games, get the Series X now, and you can play whatever you're playing now, whatever you've been playing, whatever's in your catalog, and they'll be at stable frame rates, 4K or around 4K. And then the other thing to consider is due to the lack of availability, the demand, it's not going to drop in price this year, probably not until the end of next year. So by the time, if you see one, you might as well get it.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're so hard to find, still, which is crazy. But, the fact that they're adding experiences to the old games, like boosted modes, um, they're even boosting some games from 60 hertz to 120 hertz, which is dope. They're even
Hmm.
they even boosted some game to, from 30 to 120, which is like,
Hmm.
wow, that's cool.
Yep.
So the fact that they're doing that and supporting it is awesome. I don't see Sony doing that too much, which is
Mhm.
disappointing. But
Yep.
I know they're
And
adding some support for some games.
yeah, and anyone doesn't know this, what you want to do is on a game. So like, Apex, I noticed this. If you press start on it, you go to manage game. There's where you can manage like if it has auto HDR or auto frame boost or anything like that. Like it doesn't automatically do it for every compatible game or every supported game. Some of them you have to do manually,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah,
also doesn't force HDR on every game. That's why like Fortnite doesn't support it. So Fortnite is still SDR. The Xbox does not force HDR on all games. It's only supported games, and you
yeah.
have a toggle for it.
I found that weird that Fortnite's not in HDR. It seems like the perfect
Yeah,
game
it,
to be
it
in
should
HDR.
be.
Yeah,
Like
it
that's what's
doesn't
taking
make
them so long.
sense. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's an interesting point you said about, like, you have to sometimes manually go in and enable auto HDR for certain games. Like, I didn't know that until you tweeted that to me today. I was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
oh, okay. I have to look into that more."
Yeah. And so I've been eyeing the 1 terabyte expansion drive for it, but I'm still waiting because you can just get a regular 3.5 inch, like 2 terabyte SSD, put it in
Mhm.
an enclosure, and use that for a majority of your games. All your like regular Xbox One games play fine on that kind of SSD, and they'll load just as fast as they would on the internal. So that'll buy you some time before you need to get more of the fast SSD storage.
Yeah. I've been looking into that, actually getting another SSD,
Mhm.
the official one or whatever that you just plug in the back. It's like $180 though. I'm like, "Hmm."
It's still 220. It was on sale on
Oh,
Newegg for
okay.
like 195 or something, and I was thinking about it, but even at that, like if it was, I'm probably waiting for 150 or less.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the same thing here. I don't know why I just keep cheaping out on it. I'm like, "Nah, I'll just delete games."
So yeah, that's why I just have that 2 terabyte,
Mhm.
you know, 2.5 inch SSD in an enclosure, and it's a Samsung 860. Got it for $165 open box at Micro Center. So
Yeah. Oh, does Sony have an extra slot that's just not being used?
yep.
Oh, wow. That's why is it not ready
Because
yet?
theirs is PCIe 4.0, and
Oh,
as far as I know, there's only one certified drive so far. It's the new Western Digital, and they have to add the support to it through firmware, and then you have to make
mhm.
sure that it's a drive that's supported for that speed.
Yeah, and we're still waiting for VR on the PS5 as well, which is
Mhm.
wow. That's all I gotta say about that. They were talking about VR being there at launch, and it wasn't. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I'm no fan of any particular brands or whatever,
yes.
but so if I say the PS5 launched half baked, that's nothing against it as a brand. That's just what
Mhm.
happened.
Yeah, no, that's how I feel too. I had some weird experiences with it out of the box too. Like my controller charger didn't work, and my brother, he bought one, and his HDMI 2.1 cable didn't work, and it turned out that cable wasn't even HDMI 2.1. So
Yeah. Yep. I wasn't gonna get one until the refresh because of the whole issue with the memory overheating. I don't know if you've seen that, but
I have
there's
heard about that. Yeah.
one of the ICs for the memory doesn't touch the heatsink,
Mhm.
and so you see people having these memory artifacts already. So I was gonna wait for the redesign. But if I can find one, I'll probably get one just because I keep getting requests to do videos on how to set it up for the TVs and stuff.
Mhm. Are we free on Friday to stream? 2 to 4 p.m. Pacific time.
Let's see.
I should be.
Friday is usually a short day for me, so probably I just don't know if I can make the 5 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Pacific,
Mhm.
but somewhere in the middle of there probably.
Yeah, it'd be cool. Hop in. I'm definitely available for that. That'd be fun. I like the live stream. Like honestly, this is fun. Like
Mhm.
I don't really get to talk to anybody else about tech. So the fact that I get to talk to you or FOMO or Be the Installer or Whisper Status, Joelster, like whoever it may be, like talking tech with other people that are like minded is awesome. And then interacting with chat is like I'm talking to chat as well. And that's pretty dope. So
Yeah.
it's cool to have that experience for sure. And I don't think it's anything bad ever.
Mhm.
So if you have a Xbox and PS5 and like one game release with all triggers and haptic feedback on PS5, are you gonna play the game on Xbox or PS5? That's tough. For me, I think that if I enjoy the haptic feedback from the triggers and stuff, and it's actually going to be a game that I feel comfortable playing on the PS5, then I would probably go with it on the PS5. Personally, I don't like shooters on the PS5. Never really liked the controller layout for shooters. That's just my opinion on that. Uh, but it's probably a personal preference thing. What do you think? Do you have a preference if you own both consoles? Like, what would make you buy it for
Like,
one system?
the main people that I play with are on Xbox. I like the Xbox controller. I have the Elite 2 controller, so it's just, and also most games have, either higher quality graphics, higher resolution, higher frame rate, whatever on the Xbox. So
Mhm.
if it's third party, I'm gonna play it on the Xbox, and I just get the PlayStation for exclusives.
Yeah, that's the same thing here. I don't think I've ever bought a third party game on a PlayStation
Mm.
just because all my friends are on Xbox.
So, all right, hang on. Let me. I gotta make a call real quick, but I'll jump back in a second.
Oh yeah, no problem. No problem. Let's see. Micro Center. Yeah, I wish I had a Micro Center, man. That's pretty cool. Um, I've tried the controllers for shooters. I still don't like them, to be honest with you. I think it's cool. The haptic feedback is awesome. I've played Call of Duty on the haptic feedback, and I really think it's cool how the guns change the way that the triggers work. But I just can't get over the layout for the analog sticks. I'm sure if I adjusted to it, it would be fine. But yeah, I don't know why. I just prefer the Xbox controller layout for shooters, but only for shooters. Like I could play any other game on a PlayStation 5 controller, no problem. Do we think that the LG is gonna come out with the OLED with a heatsink this year?
Mhm.
I don't know about this year. Yeah, probably not this
Yeah.
year.
To me, I think what they should do is have the gallery series be super thin for the wall, no heat sink, have the extended warranty, have the E series come back, be the premium model with the heat sink, keep the C1 as the mainstream, one that most people get,
Mhm.
and then have your, A or B, 60 hertz, whatever, more budget line.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I feel like the A series is such a waste this year. Like, I don't know who's buying the A series when you have the C10 available to you. It just seems like a weird strategy from LG to offer the A series.
If it was like $300 less at each
Mhm.
size, then I mean, of what it is now, I'm not saying difference with the C. Like it needs at least a $500 or $600 difference between the C series to be worth it, and that's only
Yeah.
for people who aren't gaming.
Yeah, I agree. I think it had to be like 200, 300 lower than the B series, honestly, for it to
Mm.
even be considered. Because like you're going from a 120 hertz screen to a 60 hertz screen. Like that's not gonna make people happy when they learn that. Like, and there's gonna be people that buy this TV thinking that it's gonna be capable of all those things, which is sad because they're like, oh, it's a LG OLED. You know, this is gonna be the latest and greatest. And then they get it home and they find out they can't run it in 120 hertz. It's gonna be a sad time.
Mm.
So yeah, that's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that makes me scratch my head on
Yeah,
that.
like looking at Costco, they're clearing out the X900H 85-inch for $2,000, and then right next to it they have the X91J, which is the same thing rebranded for $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's literally the same exact TV rebranded for 50% more.
That's a good point. Let's check out Costco real quick. Do you know if it shows up on the website?
If you just type in Sony 85, it should pop both up.
Okay. Oh, my internet's so slow right now. Everything seems to be slow when I'm streaming. Sony 85, it should pop up. Okay. Is it the C1H? CH?
Yeah, so you can see the older one. That one is right now $19.99 if your store still has it.
This one right here.
Yep. And then right next to it, same exact thing, rebranded for $29.99.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that didn't work. I guess you have to be a member to see the price.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's look at the QNEDs real quick. Because that's something that, to me, you spoke on this earlier. I'm excited for QNED. I think that it could be a big factor. And one thing I didn't like when I heard about the QNED for the first time, I think I even made a video about it and was kind of maybe a little too harsh, but they were using the A7 processor, the A7 Gen 4. What's your take on that? Do you think that's a big deal?
I don't know. I don't think the processors really matter too much because I don't use like most of the processing stuff anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just like on the Sony, I liked the XR. That was the first one where I could see the reality creation doing something that I liked. That was about it.
Yeah. I think there's prices up at Camera or whatever. Is that what it's called? BH Camera?
I think
B&H Photo.
Yeah, B&H Photo, but I think Apt ABT may have had a listing already. I forget. But I think the 86 is going to be like 4,500 or 4,000, somewhere in there.
Yeah. Yeah, here they are. 86-inch.
Yeah, still IPS though. That's the only concern.
Yeah, now it says IPS. It didn't say IPS before, but that looks like it says it now. That's interesting that the IPS for 85-inch is going away when you're with the Samsung. You get the VA panel, but for them you still get the IPS panel.
And what's weird is some of the non I don't know what would you say, like more their mid-range LEDs, so the 82-inch alone was VA while the rest were IPS.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it doesn't look like they're going to have an 82 for the QNED, so it's just like, why not?
Yeah, they keep changing things on this. I remember when they first announced it, they didn't even have the 65 listed. So, and it also was going to be a TV that didn't come with a stand, but they since changed that. So I'm glad they changed that because that doesn't make sense. I still don't think it makes sense for the G1. Like, at least give us an optional stand in the box because there's going to be people that want to buy it that can't mount it, especially if you're going to make it a step up. I understand it when it was last year when you're buying it for the looks and it's not that much different than a C10. But like when you're making a G1 this year, and you're making it better than the C1, like give us a stand so we have that option. It's not
That's what I'm saying for next year. The C2 and the G2 should be the same thing, except the G2 is the wall mount one, and then let it have the warranty or whatever. So there's another reason to get it. But then bring back the E series with a stand and a heatsink.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a QN85A competitor. It looks like, because they're going to be both IPS 65-inch. Right? Wouldn't you say? I don't think this is probably going to compete with the 90 if we're talking a VA panel.
Yeah, so it's just going to have more features than the QN85A, like having Dolby Vision, having
That's true.
streaming
Yeah.
4 HDMI 2.1 ports.
Yeah.
Um,
Dolby Vision, can't forget about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty much why Samsung's not doing Dolby Vision. Everybody asks me about that all the time, and they don't believe in it. They don't believe in it.
If the
And
QN90A had Dolby Vision, I would have the 85 inch right now.
yeah,
It's that simple. I like Samsung. I like their colors. I like everything about it, but the no Dolby Vision, I won't buy it because of it.
mhm. Yeah, their take on it is that their TVs don't need tone mapping, so they don't want to adopt it. But it's weird because they're adopting, you know, their meta strategy with their metadata strategy with HDR10.
And
So, I don't know.
have you looked at projectors at all? Because JVC, I know, has like their own metadata tone mapping system that they don't officially support Dolby Vision. There's
Mhm.
a rebranding for projectors that's I want to say it's like Dolby Cinema or something.
Okay.
But I think they have to pay for it, so none of the projector companies have done that yet. But JVC can take a Dolby Vision source and tone map it without having paid for the Dolby Vision.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Dolby Vision, we're still not even hitting its full potential yet. So
Mhm.
I don't know. TVs are kind of not as far along as I thought they would be by now.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to be at 12-bit by now, and we're not seeing that. So
Yeah, I gotta probably get off here in about 4 minutes.
okay, yeah, no problem. No problem. I'll probably end this soon anyway.
And anyone want to know anything else about the G1 while I'm still testing it?
Yeah, ask your questions while Keep It Classy is here. He's got the G1. He'll answer your questions.
QN90A comes on Wednesday, so I'll have LG's best 4K with Samsung's best 4K, and then I'll pull out the KS8000 to have the 5-year difference for Samsung.
Yeah, that's a good. That's cool. I can't wait to see what your thoughts are on the QN90A after seeing all those other TVs. Because it was like reverse for me. I got the QN90A before I got the Sony TVs, and the only thing I really got to see it next to was the C1. So
yeah, and then after I'm done with that, probably get one of the Hisense, either U8G or U7G, because the U8G at that point will probably be so tested. I'm probably just gonna wait for the U7.
yeah,
And then the X95J, and then at that point, that's when I'll make my final decision on what I'm buying.
will you though?
Really want to go 83 or 85? Well, I'm trying. Really, like, I can't deal with the 65. Just going down from the 77 to 65, even it's killing me trying to watch anything on it.
Yeah, you had 85 for like a year,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
had
how do
85
you
for a
go back?
while, then
Yeah.
went down to 77 for a bit, and then now have a 65 for testing. It's like, but it's too hard to test big TVs to find what you want.
Mhm. Do you see any questions in the chat about the G1? I'm looking.
Is SDR gaming? So the SDR gaming on the G1, if you measure 10% windows in the game modes, it's only a 10% difference. But when you measure full screen, it's more. It went from like 130 to 160. So off the top of my head, that's 30 minutes. That's 20 something percent. So a game like Fortnite, which is like the main SDR game that I play, that's really bright. There is a noticeable brightness difference playing that on the G1 over the C1. And when you have the logo dimming setting turned off, it does not dim at all. So it stayed consistent the entire time.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're a big SDR gamer and you don't want to deal with the dimming on Sony, then the G1 is worth it over the C1, and especially now because of the warranty deal.
Yeah. The G1 seems pretty good for gaming in general.
As far as doing comparisons, what I've done is I've set a specific spot where I can put my camera. That's how I did the video that I put up today with 2 images of the A80J stacked on top. So I should be able to do simulated side-by-sides just by having the camera in that spot, the lighting controlled, and then just trimming around the video and putting them next to each other. So it should look exactly like an actual side-by-side, even if they aren't. So I can take that footage from the A80J and then repeat it on the G1 and make it look like they're sitting next to each other.
Yeah. And the best thing you could do with that is just note the like what you're seeing in each image, you know,
Mhm.
and just remember it. Like I usually take notes when I do side by sides or when I film one TV. I usually take notes or I talk like I'm doing a review, even though I'm not going to use that audio if I voice over it or something like that. So I actually have like internal notes for myself. So that's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, and like when it comes to like the main differences from the A80J to either the C1 or the G1, like um, you can't forget it. Once going from the C1 to the A80J back to the G1, you can't forget how good the colors were on the Sony out of the
Mhm.
box, how clear everything was with the reality creation. Even if you turn reality creation off, it just the clarity was a notable improvement. Um, and that's why, like, if you're not really too worried about gaming, or certain things that the LG does right, you will be happier with one of the Sonys.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. It's just clearer. Like I said, when I was about 2 or 3 feet away, the LG TV looked softer, for sure.
Mhm. So, and it's not, and it's, I wouldn't say that it's bad one way or
Right.
good one way or the other, because it's just two different styles. I
Mhm.
think LG takes the source and gives you that source as realistic as it's supposed to be, whereas Sony feels comfortable in making adjustments without overstepping. So it's whatever you would prefer. If you want the source presented to you as it was meant to be, then you might prefer the LG. It's just then, like, if you have an older movie with a lot of film grain, I see a lot of complaints about film grain.
Mhm.
The Sony can clean that up a little bit better than what the LG does, because the LG is not trying to clean it up. It's trying to present it to you as it was originally made. So if there's a lot of film grain in that movie, you're going to see it on the LG more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good point. And that might make some people upset for some reason, like when they see more film grain. So it depends on what you're looking for, like you said. Because I definitely noticed more film grain, and some people actually like that. They're like, I want to see the film grain like it was intended. Um,
Mhm.
but I honestly don't care. I just want the best looking image.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
I like film grain. I got nothing against, like, I don't
mm,
ever try to smooth it out. That's one
right.
thing that I hated with getting the Lord of the Rings trilogy on UHD. They added so much digital noise filtering that there's scenes where their faces look like they've just melted, and it
Yeah,
looks awful.
I know what you mean. I've seen something like that before.
Hmm.
It's pretty bad, but the Sony does a really good job at the digital noise filtering, and
Hmm.
the processing in general is just really good on Sony.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, I like both TVs, so there's no doubt about it. It's just I like the A80J and A90J a little bit better. That's about
Yeah.
all
Yeah, I
there.
mean, and two, we're talking like both TVs are at least nines, and we're talking like that extra
Yeah,
0.5
yeah,
difference
yeah.
in these things. So it's like you can't go wrong either way, unless, like, if you don't know that Sony has these quirks, then you can go wrong if you get the Sony and you're expecting more HDMI 2.1 ports, or you're expecting eARC to work perfectly or things like that.
Or the
That's,
internet,
that's why I say the LG is a safe bet that you
right?
can't go wrong with. But if you know the issues with the Sony, you can be happier with the image you get.
That's a good point. Like, because I'm still considering an LG for my personal set. Like, even
Hmm.
all that said, like I might like the Sony better, but like you said, there's less that can go wrong with LG. It seems like, right? It seems
Yeah.
like it's more reliable at this point, and it is the safer bet. Especially if you get a G1, you're getting that 5-year warranty too. On top of that, it's peace of mind for a
Hmm.
lot of people. That's gonna matter a lot.
Yeah. But and the other thing too is just remembering that Sony can, under the 10% window, when you get to those HDR highlights, Sony's not afraid to push it. LG is, for some reason. Their brightness, when you measure 10% and then you go smaller than 10%, it stays the same. The Sony
Mhm.
keeps going another 100 or 150 nits brighter.
All right, G180J, A90J for movies. Well,
Biggest size Sony for movies.
yeah, pretty much. Sony is really good for movies.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, thanks for
Yeah, no
having me
problem.
on
Hey,
here.
man,
And,
thanks for coming by and filling the void. Cause
yeah, just message me and maybe we can set up like a day of the week where we can like alternate or whatever.
for sure. Yeah.
You know, figure out something.
Yeah, we'll do something on your channel sometimes.
Yeah. All right.
Cool, man. Thanks for
And,
coming by.
anyone interested in the A80J, go look at that video I put up today. And then it's specifically for the 77-inch. But if you wanted that boosted brightness, then it doesn't matter because you're not calibrating it. You're just lifting everything together. So it should work on all the sizes. It's just the D65 and the 20-point controls and all that will be specific to the 77.
Yeah.
But all right, I'll see you soon. Have a good one.
Later, man. All right, I think I'm gonna wrap it up too because looks like my camera froze and I don't know how to get back. So yeah. Thanks to everybody for stopping by. Before you go, I guess you can look at my logo chatting. If you have any questions, now is the time to drop them. I will answer any questions that you have. I'll end this in about 5 minutes. So at 7:10 p.m. Pacific time, I'll end this. I guess I'll just have my final thoughts on this is let's actually go to a screen. Let's talk about the QNED while I'm waiting for some questions to come in. Any questions you guys have is cool. But the QNED is an important TV that's going to come out that is really going to dictate whether or not it's going to be the best LCD TV kind of for you because it's going to have Dolby Vision and it has mini LED technology. And so far, a lot of people have been down on mini LED technology, but when I saw it in the QN90A, I really appreciated it. And I thought that I could see a significant jump from the Q90T that I know that Samsung's on the right path. And this is why I think that you will see mini LED keep going forward with the Samsung TVs. And yeah, I think the QNED has a chance to be really good. So what do you guys think? Are you excited about the QNED or waiting more for the X95J? Because those are the two TVs left that I'm really excited about. And then we want to see what TCL has in store, right? And then the Hisense dual cell, a lot of people ask about, but yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Appreciate you so much. Thanks to everybody who super chatted. Thanks to everybody who asked the question. Just thanks to everybody for coming out and talking in general. It was a lot of fun. I have fun with this. Next time I'll schedule it and it'll be more laid out. It won't be a freestyle stream kind of like this one. I'll let you guys know. Thank you so much for stopping by. I appreciate everybody. Thank you and have a great day.